HOA Karen and fake HOA cop. Gun pointed at my special forces son over a bird feeder. Karen's empire crumbles. Welcome back to HOA Karen Files, the channel where we rip the clipboards out of HOA tyrants' hands and give power back to the people. Today, we're diving into a saga so wild, so infuriating, and so downright satisfying. It'll have you glued to your screen for the next 2 hours. Picture this: a fake HOA cop, strutting like he's John Wayne, storms onto a veteran's lawn in broad daylight, pointing a loaded gun at a special forces hero, all because of a bird feeder. A bird feeder. And who's egging him on? None other than Karen Mitchell, the visor-wearing, schnauzer-toting dictator of Red Maple Grove, smirking like she's the queen of the cul-de-sac. Her clipboard's her crown, her fines are her decrees, and her boyfriend's badge? Well, that's just her ticket to terrorize the neighborhood. But here's where it gets good. That hero, Jason, isn't just any veteran. He's a special forces operative, trained to outsmart warlords in deserts and jungles, with a calm so deadly it could freeze lava. He's faced enemies who make this fake cop look like a mall security guard on a power trip. Which, let's be honest, he basically is. What Karen and her gun-toting goon don't know: they've just picked a fight with the wrong family, in the wrong neighborhood, at the wrong time. And when Jason smiles, that quiet, terrifying smile that says, "You're done," you know Red Maple Grove is about to witness the collapse of Karen's empire. This is HOA cop pointed a gun at my special forces son over a bird feeder. Karen's reign collapses. Our longest, most explosive story yet, packed with drama, revenge, and a llama named Gizmo who steals the show. Yes, you heard that right, a llama. From illegal cameras to viral X memes, from a 120-page dossier to a block party that'll make you cheer, this tale has it all. And trust me, you don't want to miss the moment when Karen's clipboard hits a lawn and stays there. Let me set the scene. Red Maple Grove, 2023, was the kind of place you'd see on a postcard. White picket fences, manicured lawns, and cul-de-sacs where kids biked and retirees sipped sweet tea on porches. It was the American dream, a slice of suburbia where my husband, Frank, and I moved to escape the city's noise and spend our golden years in peace. Frank, a Navy vet who served in Vietnam, wanted a quiet spot to tend roses and hang an American flag. I wanted a garden, a porch swing, and maybe a few cardinals at a bird feeder. Our son, Jason, 30, had just come home from his 4th tour with Special Forces, a towering, polite man who mowed our lawn and called everyone ma'am. Even our cat, Whiskers. We thought Red Maple was our happily ever after. But dreams have a funny way of turning into nightmares. Enter Karen Mitchell, the HOA president who didn't just run Red Maple Grove. She ruled it like a suburban Stalin. With her visor, yoga pants, and a schnauzer named Muffin who yapped like a car alarm, Karen was a one-woman surveillance state. Her clipboard was her weapon, her 200-page rulebook her Bible, and her fines? They were her way of keeping us all in line. She'd taken over the HOA in 2021, unopposed, because who wants to deal with meeting minutes and mailbox measurements? That was our first mistake, letting apathy hand her the keys to the kingdom. Karen didn't waste time. She banned non-neutral mailboxes, fined people for excessive Christmas lights, and even cited old Mrs. Lennox, 84 and half blind, for her algae-infested bird bath. She was everywhere, measuring grass blades, snapping photos, and preaching about community standards like a televangelist. And her boyfriend, Randy? Oh, he was the cherry on her tyranny sundae. A part-time sheriff's deputy with a badge he flashed like a trophy, Randy patrolled in his cruiser, enforcing Karen's rules with a smirk and a hand on his holster. He wasn't on the HOA, but you wouldn't know it from the way he knocked on doors, demanding compliance. Our first run-in came early. Karen left a note on our mailbox. Knob 2 reflective. Violates code 2.1A. $50 fine. We laughed, thinking she was just bored. Then came a $75 fine for our non-compliant garden hose. Green, not beige. Frank, who'd faced storms at sea, grumbled. Who cares about a hose? But Karen cared. And when she cited our flagpole as hostile imagery, Jason raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, it's the American flag. Karen smirked. Code 4.3 violation, $100. That's when I saw Jason's jaw clench, the same look he got when he came home from places he doesn't talk about. Karen had no idea she'd just woken a sleeping giant. But this isn't just our story, it's Red Maple's. Neighbors like the Johnsons, fined for their unapproved rose bushes, the Harts, hit for their flag's proximity violation, and Mrs. Lennox, drowning in citations for her bird bath. They were scared, silenced by Karen's fines and Randy's cruiser. Red Maple wasn't a community. It was a prison, with Karen's clipboard as the bars. And Jason? He wasn't just our son. He was our hope, our Hummingbird general, ready to fight for the freedom we thought we'd earned. Before we dive in, picture this ex-post that lit up the neighborhood. Visor vigilante strikes again. Karen finds 84 years old for birdbath algae. Who's next? Hashtag Red Maple Tyrant. It got 500 likes and a meme of Karen's visor photoshopped onto a dictator's face. That's the vibe we're bringing. Petty tyranny, viral rebellion, and a takedown so epic it'll be Red Maple legend. So what's your HOA horror? Drop it in the comments. We read every one, and yours could star in our next video. Smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with your neighbors. Let's tear down the clipboard queens together. Red Maple Grove, June 2023, was the kind of neighborhood you'd brag about to your city friends. Picture cul-de-sacs lined with bungalows, lawns so green they looked painted, and American flags flapping on every third pole. It was a retiree's Eden, where potlucks featured overcooked casseroles and pies that tasted suspiciously identical, like everyone used the same Costco recipe. Kids rode bikes until dusk, neighbors waved from porches, and the air smelled of fresh-cut grass and barbecue. Frank and I moved here in 2022, chasing a quiet retirement after decades in Philadelphia's hustle. Frank, 68, was a Navy vet who'd served on a destroyer in Vietnam, a man of few words but deep pride, especially in the flag he hung on our 15-foot pole. Ellen, 65, wanted a garden for roses, a porch swing for coffee, and a bird feeder to lure cardinals and blue jays. Our ranch house, on a 1.5-acre lot just outside the main HOA zone, had a massive oak that shaded our dreams of peace. Our son, Jason, joined us in May 2023, fresh from his 4th tour with Special Forces. At 30, he was a 6 feet 3 inches wall of quiet strength, with eyes that saw too much and a smile that rarely reached them. He'd led missions he couldn't share, in places that left scars he hid under flannel shirts. Back home, he was our gentle giant, mowing the lawn every Sunday, fixing Mrs. Lennox's fence, and saying ma'am to everyone, even Whiskers, our tabby who ruled the porch. Neighbors loved him. The Harts called him the best kind of hero, and Mr. Jenkins, 80, swapped war stories with him over lemonade. Red Maple felt like the perfect place to heal, to rebuild, to live the freedom Frank and Jason had fought for. But freedom's fragile in a place like Red Maple Grove. Enter Karen Mitchell, the HOA president who turned our Eden into a bureaucratic hell. At 55, Karen was a walking stereotype. Visor tilted just so, yoga pants ironed, and a schnauzer named Muffin who yapped like a broken smoke detector. Her clipboard was her scepter, a leather-bound monstrosity stuffed with a 200-page rulebook she'd written herself. Karen didn't just run the HOA. She ruled it. A suburban autocrat who quoted Code 6.8b like scripture and fined people for breathing too loudly. She'd seized power in 2021, unopposed, when apathy let her waltz into the presidency. No one wanted the hassle of meeting minutes or mailbox measurements. That was Red Maple's original sin, handing Karen the keys to our lives. Karen's takeover was surgical. She won the HOA election with a ballot nobody saw, claiming 98% support from a neighborhood too busy to vote. She rewrote the bylaws overnight, adding rules like no non-neutral exterior colors and no ornamental disobedience, her actual phrase for lawn gnomes. She banned excessive Christmas lights, limited garbage bins to 1 per household, and required mailbox handles to be brushed nickel, Code 2.1a. Neighbors grumbled, but Karen had a knack for silence. She'd knock on doors, clipboard in hand, and say, "I'm just ensuring community standards," with a smile that could curdle milk. Her fines were her whip: $25 for a reflective mailbox knob, $50 for a visible garden hose, $100 for unapproved porch cushions. She didn't just fine you. She shamed you. leaving neon yellow violation notices taped to your door for all to see. Karen's boyfriend, Randy, was her enforcer. A part-time sheriff's deputy with a badge he polished daily, Randy, 50, had an ego bigger than Red Maple's community pool. He wasn't on the HOA, but you'd never know it. He patrolled in his cruiser, mirrored sunglasses gleaming, hand on his holster like a B-movie cop. He'd park outside problem houses, staring until you felt like a criminal. Randy called his rounds code enforcement, but we called it stalking. Some neighbors, like the Wilsons, liked the security. Others, like the Johnsons, started locking their gates. Randy wasn't just Karen's muscle. He was her attack dog, and Muffin was his furry sidekick, yapping at anything that moved. Our first brush with Karen came in July 2022, barely a month after moving in. A note appeared on our mailbox. Knob 2 reflective, violates code 2.1a, $50 fine due in 7 days. Frank snorted, reflective? It's metal. We paid it, thinking Karen was just a bored busybody who'd move on. Then came August, a $75 fine for our garden hose, green, not beige, a visual disruption, under code 3.4. I was watering roses in 90-degree heat, sweat dripping, when Karen strolled by, clipboard in hand. Ellen, I'm afraid green hoses aren't neutral-toned, she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. It's for the community's harmony. Frank, who'd faced typhoons at sea, muttered, harmony, my ass. We swapped the hose for a beige one, grumbling but compliant. We didn't want trouble. Trouble found us anyway. In September, Karen targeted our flagpole, a 15-foot aluminum beauty Frank had installed to honor his Navy service. The American flag snapped in the breeze, a symbol of everything he'd fought for. Karen left a citation. Flagpole exceeds height limit. Code 4.3. Constitutes hostile imagery. $100 fine. Jason, home a week, read it and raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, it's the American flag, he said when Karen appeared, visor gleaming. She smirked, tapping her clipboard. It's a violation, Jason. Pay or remove it. I saw his jaw clench, a flicker of the man who'd led missions in shadows. He didn't argue. He just nodded, too calm, the kind of calm that makes your skin prickle. Karen's reign wasn't just about us. She fined the Johnsons $150 for their unapproved rose bushes, claiming they disrupted curb appeal. Mrs. Johnson, 70, cried as she dug them up, roses her late husband had planted. The Harts got a $200 violation for their flag's proximity violation. Too close to their mailbox by 6 inches. Mr. Hart, a retired firefighter, tore it down, muttering about petty dictators. Old Mrs. Lennox, 84 and half-blind, faced 27 citations, mostly for her birdbath, a chipped concrete relic her son had built before he died in Iraq. Karen called it algae-infested and unsanitary, fining her $50 per notice. Mrs. Lennox, on a fixed income, paid until she couldn't, her savings draining as she apologized to neighbors for being a burden. Karen's power grew with every fine. She held emergency HOA meetings, unannounced, voting herself new powers while neighbors slept. She manipulated proxy votes, claiming absent residents supported her. The former treasurer, Emily, 45, quit after Karen bullied her for questioning a $5,000 consulting fee to Karen's own LLC. Emily left a note. She's stealing, but no one listens. Nobody did, until Jason came home. Red Maple's spirit was crumbling. Potlucks stopped. Neighbors avoided eye contact. Lawns were trimmed not from pride, but fear. Every blade measured to Karen's 2.5-inch rule. Ex-posts started popping up, anonymous but scathing. Visor vigilante finds 80 years old for gnome. Hashtag Red Maple Tyrant. One meme showed Karen's face on a dictator's body, captioned, "All hail the clipboard queen." It got 300 likes before Karen reported it, claiming defamation. The poster, rumored to be a teen, deleted it. Karen's reach was everywhere. Jason saw it all, quiet but watching. He'd sit on the porch, coffee in hand, studying Karen's patrols like a sniper scoping a target. One night, as Randy's cruiser idled outside, Jason said, "Mom, they're not neighbors. They're bullies with a budget." I laughed, but his eyes didn't. He was already planning, his special forces brain mapping a battlefield most of us didn't see. Karen thought she ruled Red Maple, but she'd just met her match. A man who'd fought for freedom and wasn't about to lose it to a visor and a fake badge. Our first act of defiance was small, a test. Jason, fed up with the flagpole fine, bought a lawn gnome, a tacky, grinning dwarf in a red hat, deliberately non-compliant, under code 5.2. He planted it by the mailbox, visible from Karen's daily route. She spotted it at dawn, muffin yapping like a siren. A citation arrived by noon. Ornamental disobedience, code 5.2, $75 fine. Karen's note added, remove immediately or face daily penalties. Jason read it, smiled, and left the gnome. The next day, another $75 fine. The day after, $100. Neighbors noticed, whispering. Mrs. Lennox shuffled over, chuckling. That boy's got guts. The gnome became a symbol, a middle finger to Karen's rulebook. Karen doubled down, citing us for landscape aggression, her term for defiance. She stood on our lawn, visor tilted, and said, "This is a warning, Ellen. Comply, or we'll escalate." Randy leaned against his cruiser, smirking. Frank, who'd been silent, stepped onto the porch. "Escalate to what, lady? You gonna arrest us for a gnome?" Karen's face twitched, but she didn't answer. She scribbled on her clipboard and left, Muffin's barks fading. That night, an ex-post appeared. Gnome Gate. Vet's family fights visor vigilante. Hashtag Red Maple Rebel. It got 600 likes, with comments like, "Go, gnome guy," and Karen's losing it. Jason saw it, grinned, and said, "Mom, this is just the start." Red Maple Grove wasn't a neighborhood anymore. It was a Cold War. Karen's clipboard breathed down our necks. Randy's cruiser haunted our streets, and Muffin's yaps were our alarm clock. But Jason was awake, his dossier growing, his pranks brewing. The Hummingbird general was ready to strike, and Karen's empire was about to learn what happens when you find the wrong flag. June 2023 in Red Maple Grove was hotter than a jalapeno on a grill, the kind of heat that made you question moving to the south. Our little slice of suburbia, once a haven of cul-de-sacs and friendly waves, now felt like a pressure cooker under Karen Mitchell's iron grip. Her neon yellow violation notices littered mailboxes, her schnauzer Muffin's yaps echoed at dawn, and Randy's cruiser prowled like a shark in a kiddie pool. After Jason's gnome prank, our tacky, red-hatted dwarf still grinning by the mailbox, Karen had upped her game. She slapped us with daily $100 fines for ornamental disobedience, and Randy's patrols doubled, his mirrored sunglasses glinting as he stared down anyone who dared water their lawn past 7 p.m. The ex-post, Gnome Gate, had gone viral, with 600 likes and memes of Karen's visor on a dictator's face, but it only made her meaner. Red Maple wasn't a neighborhood, it was Karen's battlefield, and we were all targets. Karen's latest obsession was control, and she wielded her 200-page rulebook like a club. In early June, she'd fined the Johnsons $200 for their unapproved rose bushes, now a pile of dirt where love once grew. The Hearts got a $150 violation for their flag's excessive flutter. Yes, flutter, claiming it disrupted visual harmony. Mrs. Lennox, 84, faced a new $75 fine for her birdbath's unsanitary algae, her hands trembling as she paid, whispering apologies to neighbors. Karen's fines weren't just money, they were power, each one a reminder that she owned us. Ex-posts whispered rebellion, visor vigilantes at it again. Hashtag Red Maple Tyrant, but fear kept most silent. Nobody wanted Randy's cruiser at their door. Our family was public enemy number one. Jason's gnome, now a neighborhood legend, had painted a target on our backs. Karen's citations piled up, $100 for the gnome, $50 for non-neutral hose. We'd swapped back to green out of spite, and $75 for unauthorized porch flowers, my roses, which Frank tended like children. Frank, 68, a Navy vet who'd faced storms in Vietnam, was livid. "I didn't survive typhoons for this crap," he growled, crumpling a citation. Ellen, 65, felt my stomach knot every time Karen's golf cart buzzed by, Muffin yapping like a furry siren. Jason, our Special Forces son, stayed calm, his 6 feet 3 inches frame a quiet storm. He'd sit on the porch, coffee in hand, watching Randy's cruiser like a hawk. "They're escalating, Mom," he said one night. "Good. Makes it easier to bury them." The spark that lit the fire came on June 15th, A sticky afternoon when the air smelled of cut grass and tension. Jason, needing peace after years of war, had hung a bird feeder on our oak, a simple wooden box, painted blue, to attract blue jays and cardinals. He'd sit with his coffee, watching them flit, a rare smile softening his scarred face. It was his therapy, his way of stitching together the pieces of a soul frayed by missions he couldn't share. I'd watch from the kitchen, heart swelling, thinking, he's home. He's safe. But in Red Maple, nothing was safe from Karen. She spotted the feeder from her golf cart, visor tilted, Muffin's barks piercing the quiet. She marched across our lawn, Randy 2 steps behind, his deputy badge gleaming like a cheap trophy. Karen's clipboard was out, her pen scribbling before she spoke. "This feeder's a violation of Code 6.8b, she barked, voice sharp as a tack. "Unauthorized wildlife attraction devices. Remove it by tomorrow, or it's a $300 fine." Jason, birdseed in hand, paused mid-pour, his flannel shirt dusted with dust. He looked up, eyes steady. "You serious, ma'am?" The question hung, half incredulous, half challenging. Karen's face flushed, her visor wobbling. "Don't test me, Jason. This is for community standards." Randy stepped forward, chest puffed out, hand resting on his holster. "You heard her, kid. Take it down." Jason set the birdseed bag down, slow, deliberate, his 6 feet 3 inches frame unfolding like a warning. "You're on my property, sir," he said, voice low, calm, the kind that makes your skin prickle. "And that's not a request to leave." Randy, not used to defiance, smirked, but his eyes flickered, nervous, like a bully who'd misjudged his mark. "You think you're tough, huh?" he snapped, and then, in a move that stopped my heart, he unholstered his gun, pointing it at Jason's chest. Time froze. I stood on the porch, hands gripping the railing, a scream caught in my throat. Frank, beside me, tensed, his Navy instincts kicking in. "Ellen, stay back," he whispered, but his voice shook. Across the street, Mrs. Lennox peered through her blinds, her cane trembling. The Johnsons' front door cracked open, Mr. Johnson's face pale. The air was thick, the kind of silence that screams louder than words. Randy's gun gleamed, his hand unsteady, sweat beading on his brow. Karen stood on the sidewalk, clipboard clutched, her smirk faltering but still there, like she thought she'd won. Jason didn't flinch. His eyes locked on Randy's, calm, unyielding, the kind of stare that could make a warlord blink. He was special forces, trained to face death in deserts and jungles, and this? This was a deputy with a shaky hand and a fake sense of power. "You're making the biggest mistake of your HOA career," Jason said, voice like steel, each word a bullet. Then he smiled, not friendly, but the kind that says, "I've got you." Birdseed spilled from the bag at his feet, a slow cascade, as if even the ground knew something was about to break. What Karen and Randy didn't know, Jason was always 3 steps ahead. He'd rigged our doorbell cam to record 24/7, capturing every second of Randy's stunt. His phone, in his pocket, was live streaming to a private X group he'd set up for neighbors. Across the street, Mrs. Hart, 60, had her iPhone out, filming from her porch, her hands shaking but steady enough. Oh, and Jason was legally armed, a concealed carry permit tucked in his wallet, but he didn't touch his weapon. He didn't need to. His calm was his weapon, and it was sharper than Randy's gun. Randy's hand shook, the gun wobbling. "Take it down, kid," he growled, but his voice cracked, betraying him. Karen, sensing weakness, hissed, "Do it, Randy." But Jason just stood there, birdseed at his feet, oak leaves rustling above. "You're on camera," he said, nodding to the doorbell. "3 angles. And you're trespassing. Put it away, or this gets ugly." Randy's eyes darted, to the cam, to Karen, to the neighbors now stepping onto their lawns. The Johnsons, the Harts, even old Mr. Jenkins, 80, leaning on his cane. Red Maple was watching, and Randy was shrinking. He lowered the gun, muttering, "This ain't over." Karen scribbled furiously, her smirk gone, replaced by a scowl. "You'll regret this," she spat, storming back to her golf cart. Muffin yapped, a pathetic echo of her rage. Randy followed, his cruiser peeling out with a squeal. I ran to Jason, heart pounding, grabbing his arm. "You okay?" He nodded. "I still on the street." "I'm fine, Mom." "They're not." Frank clapped his shoulder, voice gruff. Damn fool didn't know who he was messing with. That night, the X group exploded. Mrs. Hart's video, titled Gun Gate. Fake cop threatens vet. Hashtag Red Maple Tyrant. Hit 1,000 views in hours. Memes flooded in. Randy's gun photoshopped as a water pistol, Karen's visor as a crown labeled Queen of Fines. Comments poured in. Who does this guy think he is? Vet's a badass. Karen's done. The post got 800 likes, but Karen reported it, claiming harassment. X kept it up, and Red Maple buzzed. Neighbors whispered at mailboxes, some scared, others angry. Mrs. Lennox slipped us a note. Keep fighting, Jason. You're our hope. The next morning, a $300 fine arrived for wildlife endangerment, demanding the feeder's removal by July 1st. Karen's note added, failure to comply will result in legal action. Randy's cruiser parked across our street, his glare a daily ritual. But Jason was moving. He pulled the HOA bylaws, public record, and found Karen's rules were a legal dumpster fire. Vague clauses, no authority over private lots, and her own house breaking half her codes, 2 trash bins, an unpermitted shed, even a non-neutral mailbox painted sunset peach. He grinned, a rare spark in his eyes. Mom, this is going to be fun. Jason didn't stop at research. To twist the knife, he hung a second bird feeder, this one bright red, right next to the first. Karen drove by at dawn, nearly crashing her golf cart. A new fine arrived, $500 for repeat wildlife violations. The X group lit up again. Bird feeder bandit strikes back. Hashtag Red Maple Rebel. A meme showed Jason's feeders as rebel flags, captioned Freedom Tweets. Neighbors started talking, not whispering. Mr. Johnson nodded at Jason. Mrs. Hart baked him cookies. Red Maple was stirring, and Karen's empire was cracking. Frank, who'd been quiet, stepped up. He cornered Randy at the community mailbox, Navy vet to fake cop. You ever point a gun at my son again, he said, voice low. You'll wish you'd stayed in your cruiser. Randy muttered something and sped off. I watched, heart swelling, but scared. Karen and Randy weren't done, and Red Maple was a powder keg. Jason, though, was ready. His dossier, a growing stack of emails, videos, and bylaws, was his ammo, and the bird feeder rebellion was just the start. July 2023 in Red Maple Grove was a cauldron of heat and rebellion. Karen Mitchell's tyranny had tightened since the bird feeder showdown, her fines hitting like hailstones. The $500 citation for Jason's red feeder sat on our kitchen table, next to the $300 wildlife endangerment fine and a new $150 violation for our non-compliant porch light. Too bright, per code 7.4. Karen's golf cart buzzed daily, muffins yapped some mocking chorus. Randy's cruiser was a fixture, parked across our street, his mirrored sunglasses tracking every move. The ex-post Gun Gate had sparked a fire, with 2,000 views and memes of Randy's shaky gun hand. But Karen fought back, reporting posts as defamation and doubling fines. The Johnsons got a $250 violation for their unapproved mailbox decal, a rose sticker. The Harts faced $200 for their flag's improper angle. Mrs. Lennox, 84, got a $100 fine for her bird bath's excessive water level, her hands shaking as she paid. Red Maple's spirit was bruised, but Jason's bird feeder rebellion had lit a spark. Neighbors stopped whispering and started talking. Mr. Johnson, 70, slipped Jason a photo of Randy keying his car after a fine. Mrs. Hart, 60, shared a video of Karen measuring her lawn at midnight, visor glowing under a flashlight. Old Mr. Jenkins, 80, chuckled about Jason's red feeder, saying, "Boys got more guts than I had in Korea." The X group, now 50 members, buzzed with defiance. Bird feeder bandits, our hero. Hashtag Red Maple Rebel. But fear lingered. Karen's clipboard and Randy's badge still ruled. Jason, our Special Forces son, was a quiet storm. Every night, he was on his laptop, cross-referencing Karen's fines with county laws. He found her streetlight cameras, installed without a vote, violated state privacy laws. He saved her threatening emails, like one warning us to cease subversive behavior or face legal consequences. His dossier, now 60 pages, included bylaws, receipts, and neighbor complaints. But Jason knew paperwork wasn't enough. Red Maple needed a symbol, something to rally behind. Enter Operation Hummingbird Havoc, his first tactical strike. The plan was simple but diabolical. Mrs. Lennox's bird bath, a chipped concrete relic her son built before dying in Iraq, was Karen's obsession. She'd find it 27 times, calling it unsanitary. Jason saw an opportunity. He rigged the bird bath with a waterproof Bluetooth speaker hidden under a fake rock, programmed to play hawk calls. Sharp, piercing shrieks that'd spook any dog. Muffin, Karen's schnauzer, was the target. Jason spent a night in our garage, tweaking the speaker with a neighbor kid, Timmy, 16, a tech whiz who'd joined the X group. "This'll make Muffin lose it," Timmy grinned, soldering wires. Jason nodded, his special forces precision at work. The operation launched on July 10th, a muggy morning. Karen's golf cart rolled by at 7 a.m., Muffin in tow. Jason, on the porch with coffee, hit the remote. The hawk calls erupted, shrill, predatory screeches echoing across red maple. Muffin went berserk, yapping, spinning, and bolting into Karen's azaleas. Karen, visor askew, chased her, tripping over a sprinkler and landing in a flower bed, her clipboard flying. I watched from the kitchen, stifling a laugh. Frank, on the porch, snorted, "That's my boy." Mrs. Lennox, peering through her blinds, clapped, her first smile in months. Neighbors spilled onto their lawns, phones out. Mrs. Hart live-streamed it to the X group. Hummingbird Havoc hits Karen. #RedMapleRebel. The video, showing Karen's muddy yoga pants and Muffin's chaos, hit 3,000 views in hours. Memes exploded. Karen's fall as a WWE takedown, Muffin as a hawk attack survivor. Comments roared, "Best prank ever." Karen's done. Hummingbird General strikes. The post got 1,200 likes, and Red Maple laughed. Loud, free laughter, the kind we hadn't heard in years. Karen was livid. She stormed to Mrs. Lennox's, accusing her of animal cruelty and fining her $500. Mrs. Lennox, frail but defiant, said, "Talk to Jason, dear." Karen marched to our house, Randy trailing, his badge gleaming. "This is sabotage," she shrieked, waving her clipboard. Jason, leaning on the porch, sipped his coffee. "Ma'am, it's just birds. Nature's loud." Randy growled, "You're pushing it, kid." Jason's eyes flicked to the doorbell cam, still rolling. "Careful, deputy. Cameras don't lie." Karen's face twitched, but she left, Muffin's barks fading. The prank wasn't done. Jason upped the ante, reprogramming the speaker to play a midnight playlist, Sweet Home Alabama, Bohemian Rhapsody, and Happy Birthday, timed to Karen's bedtime. On July 12th, at 2 a.m., Leonard Skinner blared, waking Karen Street. She stumbled out in a bathrobe, visorless, flashlight shaking. Muffin howled, neighbors laughed, and Mrs. Hart's X livestream, Karen vs. Skinnerd, #Hummingbird Havoc, hit 5,000 views. Memes multiplied. Karen's bathrobe as a rockstar cape, Muffin as a backup singer. The X group dubbed Jason the Hummingbird General and Red Maple's Spirit Sword. Karen called animal control, claiming feral birds were attacking Muffin. The officer, a burly guy named Dave, inspected the bird bath, found the speaker, and chuckled. "Nice tech," he said, winking at Jason. "No birds here, lady." He left, and Karen's face was a storm cloud. She fined us $1,000 for noise disruption, citing code 7.12. Jason added it to the dossier, now bulging with evidence. Karen's emails, Randy's vandalism videos, and Emily's whistleblower letter. Emily, 45, the former treasurer, had joined the fight, slipping Jason bank records of Karen's $15,000 in stipends, unapproved, illegal, and damning. Emily's story was key. She'd quit in 2022 after Karen bullied her for refusing to sign a $5,000 check to Karen's LLC, disguised as consulting fees. Karen spread rumors, calling Emily incompetent, and Emily, a single mom, left Red Maple in shame. Jason tracked her down via X, promising justice. "She stole from us," Emily said, handing over a USB drive. "Make her pay." Jason nodded, his dossier growing like a war plan. Neighbors rallied. The Johnsons shared photos of Karen digging up their roses at 3 a.m., later finding them for dead plants. The Harts had audio of Randy threatening to impound their flag. Mr. Jenkins, 80, gave Jason a 1960s HOA handbook, proving Karen's rules were new, not traditional. Secret meetings started at Mrs. Lennox's, 10 residents at first, then 25. Jason led, calm but commanding, outlining Karen's violations, illegal cameras, forged votes, embezzlement. "We don't yell," he said. "We document. And we win." Karen sensed the shift. She installed more cameras, now with motion sensors, aimed at our house, the Johnsons, and Mrs. Lennox's. She held an emergency HOA meeting, unannounced, passing a rule banning wildlife devices, including bird baths. It passed, 1-0, with her as the only voter. Jason appealed, citing bylaws. She denied it, fining us $2,000 for subversive behavior. The X group erupted. "Karen's losing it." Hashtag Hummingbird Havoc. A meme showed her visor as a tinfoil hat, captioned, "Clipboard Conspiracy." Red Maple was changing. Neighbors waved openly, shared coffee, and laughed at X memes. Mrs. Lennox baked Jason cookies, her bird bath now a rebel shrine. The Hearts flew their flag higher, daring Karen to find them. Jason's dossier, now 80 pages, was a ticking bomb, and Operation Hummingbird Havoc was its fuse. Karen's empire was crumbling, and Red Maple was ready to rise. October 2023 in Red Maple Grove felt like a pressure cooker ready to blow. Karen Mitchell's tyranny had reached absurd heights after Operation Hummingbird Havoc left her schnauzer, Muffin, a yapping wreck, and her visor-covered ego bruised. The X memes, Karen versus Skinnerd, Hummingbird Havoc hits Red Maple, had turned her into a local laughingstock, with 800 likes and counting. But instead of backing down, Karen doubled her bets, issuing a new bylaw banning unsanctioned gatherings to kill any spark of community joy. No block parties, no BBQs, no potlucks with those questionable casseroles. Red Maple wasn't a neighborhood. It was her fiefdom, and she ruled with a clipboard and a grudge. The Hearts, a retired couple known for their epic Halloween bashes, weren't having it. Tom Hart, 67, a former firefighter with a laugh like a foghorn, and his wife, Linda, 65, who baked pies that could win wars, planned a neighborhood Halloween party to defy Karen's ban. They sent out invites, printed, not emailed, to avoid Karen's email snooping, promising costumes, a bonfire, and a live country band. The flyer read, "Red Maple rises, no clipboard required." Word spread like wildfire, and by October 30th, every house on our block was buzzing. Kids painted pumpkins, adults dusted off cowboy hats, and even Mrs. Lennox, 84, promised to show up as a witch, complete with a broom she could barely lift. Jason, our Special Forces son, saw the bash as a chance to rally the troops. He'd been building his dossier since the bird feeder gun incident in June, now a 90-page beast of emails, videos, and whistleblower notes from Emily, the former HOA treasurer. The Gungate X post from July, showing Randy pointing a pistol at Jason, had hit 1,200 likes, with comments like, "Hummingbird General for President." Jason's second bird feeder, a defiant middle finger to Karen's $300 fine, still hung on our oak, attracting blue jays and whispers of rebellion. But Karen wasn't done. On October 29th, she slapped the Hearts with a $1,000 fine for planned public nuisance, citing her new gathering ban. Randy upped the ante, patrolling their street in his cruiser, blasting his siren at midnight to scare kids carving pumpkins. The Halloween bash went ahead on October 31st, and Red Maple Grove transformed. The Hearts' yard was a sea of orange and black. Jack-o'-lanterns glowed, a bonfire crackled, and a local band, the cul-de-sac crooners, belted out Johnny Cash covers. Kids in superhero costumes chased each other, adults sipped cider in vampire capes, and Mrs. Lennox, true to her word, shuffled in with a pointy hat, cackling at her own shadow. I stood with Frank, my Navy vet husband, watching from the Hearts' porch, my heart swelling. For the first time in months, Red Maple felt alive. Jason, dressed as a low-key lumberjack, flannel and all, mingled, shaking hands, his eyes scanning like he was on a mission. He was planning something, I could tell. Karen and Randy crashed the party at 8 p.m., right as the band launched into Ring of Fire. Karen strode in, visor gleaming under string lights, Muffin yapping like a possessed Furby. Randy followed, badge flashing, hand on his holster. "This is an unsanctioned gathering," Karen shouted, waving her clipboard. "Code 7.12 violation." disperse, or face fines. The band faltered, kids froze, and Tom Hart stepped forward, his firefighter bulk towering. "This is my property, Karen. Get out." Randy smirked, pulling a flashlight and shining it in Tom's face. "You want trouble, old man? I can call backup." Linda Hart, in a witch costume, grabbed a megaphone. "Backup? You're a part-time deputy, Randy. Go back to parking tickets." The crowd laughed, but tension crackled. Jason moved silently, phone recording, catching Randy's next move. He kicked over a row of jack-o'-lanterns, smashing them to pulp. Kids screamed, parents gasped, and Mrs. Lennox, clutching her broom, muttered, "That man's pure evil." Frank, who'd been quiet, stepped off the porch, his navy grit flaring. "You touch one more pumpkin, son, and you'll answer to me." Randy laughed, but his eyes flicked to Jason, who stood calm, filming, that terrifying Special Forces smile on his face. Karen, sensing a PR disaster, yanked Randy's arm. "We're issuing a $5,000 fine for community disruption," she barked, scribbling furiously. They stormed off, Muffin's barks echoing, but the damage was done. The bash resumed, but a shadow lingered. That night, Randy struck again. At 2 a.m., he cut the Hart's power, plunging their house into darkness. Jason's hidden trail cam caught him red-handed, tampering with their breaker box. The ex-post hit at dawn. Pumpkingate. Fake cop smashes kids' jack-o'-lanterns, cuts power. #RedMapleRebel. It racked up 1,500 likes, with memes of Randy's face on a Grinch cartoon. Karen, furious, held an emergency HOA meeting, solo, as usual, passing a rule banning seasonal decorations without approval. It passed 1-0. She fined the Harts another $2,000 for excessive lighting. Red Maple was on edge, but Jason saw an opportunity. He called a secret meeting at Mrs. Lennox's house on November 2nd, cramming 30 neighbors into her tiny living room, the air thick with coffee and defiance. The Johnsons, still stinging from Karen's rose bush fines, brought photos of Randy keying their car. Emily, the ex-treasurer, revealed Karen had borrowed $20,000 from HOA funds for an unpermitted backyard shed, labeled community enhancement, in doctored budgets. Mrs. Lennox, frail but fiery, waved a stack of her 27 birdbath citations. "I'm done paying her," she declared, earning cheers. Timmy, the 15-year-old who'd posted Gungate, offered to run an X-campaign. Jason stood, quiet but commanding. "We're not just fighting fines. We're taking our neighborhood back. But we need to be smart." Enter Operation Llama Uprising. Jason had befriended a local farmer, Gus, who ran a petting zoo and owed Jason a favor for fixing his tractor. Gus lent a llama named Gizmo, a shaggy, 6-foot-tall goofball with a habit of spitting when annoyed. Jason built a temporary pen in our front yard, right on the property line with Karen's house, and hung a sign. HOA free llama kisses, free to good neighbors. Gizmo munched Karen's prized azaleas, his floppy ears twitching as kids petted him. The setup was genius. The pen was on our private lot, outside HOA rules, and the sign was pure bait. Jason rigged a motion sensor to play Happy Birthday whenever Karen or Muffin approached, driving them nuts. On November 5th, Gizmo went live. Neighbors flocked, kids giggling as Gizmo nibbled their apples. Mrs. Lennox brought carrots, calling Gizmo my new lawyer. The Harts took selfies, Tom grinning in his firefighter hat. Even Emily, usually reserved, laughed as Gizmo spat at a passing car. Karen spotted it from her porch and lost it. She marched over, visor askew, Muffin yapping. "This is unauthorized livestock," she screamed, citing code 8.9. $2,000 fine. Jason, leaning on the fence, shrugged. "Private property, ma'am. Check your bylaws." The motion sensor kicked in, blaring Happy Birthday. Karen flinched, Muffin howled, and Timmy, filming, live-streamed it on X. Llama Uprising. Karen versus Gizmo. #RedMapleRebel. It hit 2,000 views in hours, with memes of Gizmo's face captioned Llama Liberation League. Karen called the cops, claiming livestock endangerment. The officer, a grizzled vet named Pete, saw kids petting Gizmo and chuckled. "Looks like a petting zoo, lady. No laws broken." He took a selfie with Gizmo, posted it on X, and left. Karen, humiliated, held another solo meeting, banning exotic animals. It passed 1-0. She fined us $3,000 for community disruption. Jason added it to the dossier, now bulging with neighbor contributions. The Johnsons' car keying video, Emily's financial records, and Mrs. Lennox's citation stack. The uprising grew. Neighbors, inspired by Gizmo, got creative. The Hearts printed fake Llama adoption flyers, taping them to Karen's mailbox. Timmy launched an X thread, Llama Liberation League, with daily Gizmo updates. Even Frank, usually stoic, joined in, building a mini Gizmo throne from scrap wood for kids to pose with. I watched, heart pounding, torn between fear of Randy's retaliation and pride in our rebellion. Karen's empire was cracking, but she wasn't out. Her next move, a desperate surveillance push, would set the stage for her final fall. By April 2024, Red Maple Grove was a powder keg. Operation Llama Uprising had turned Gizmo into a folk hero, with ex-posts like Llama Liberation League hitting 3,000 likes and memes of Karen's visor on a llama's head. Karen Mitchell, humiliated but unbowed, fought back with her last weapon, surveillance. She installed 6 new cameras on HOA streetlights, claiming vandalism prevention, but they pointed only at rebel houses. Ours, the Hearts, the Johnsons, and Mrs. Lennox's. The move backfired. Jason, ever the Special Forces tactician, had filed a restraining order against Randy after the gun incident, and the cameras violated it by targeting our property. He added the footage to his dossier, now a 120-page legal nuke. The county scheduled a hearing for April 15, 2024, at the town library's auditorium, a squat brick building usually reserved for book clubs. Word spread, and Red Maple showed up in force. Over 100 residents, spilling into folding chairs, clutching printouts, photos, and even Mrs. Lennox's chipped bird bath, hauled in as evidence. Karen arrived in pearls and a pastel blazer. No lawyer, convinced she could charm her way out. Big mistake. Jason, in a crisp flannel, sat front row, his dossier in a black binder, looking like a general before battle. I sat beside Frank, my heart in my throat, torn between fear of Karen's wrath and hope for justice. The auditorium buzzed with tension. The panel, 3 county officials, led by a no-nonsense lawyer named Ms. Carter, called the meeting to order. Karen took the podium first, her voice sugary. "I've dedicated years to Red Maple's beauty," she said, clutching her clipboard. "These complaints are from a vocal minority, led by a disruptive veteran." She pointed at Jason, who didn't blink. The crowd murmured, and Ms. Carter raised an eyebrow. "Evidence, Ms. Mitchell?" Karen stammered, offering only her rulebook, dog-eared and highlighted. Jason stood, calm as a still lake, and handed Ms. Carter his dossier, labeled Chronology of HOA Abuse, Red Maple Grove, 2021 to 2024. He spoke, voice steady. "This isn't about one family. It's about a neighborhood held hostage." He walked the panel through the binder, 120 pages of emails, photos, videos, and whistleblower notes. He played a montage on a projector, patched together by Timmy. Randy keying the Johnsons' car, Karen digging up their roses, Randy smashing Hart's pumpkins, and the Gungate clip, Randy pointing a gun at Jason, caught on 3 cameras. The crowd gasped, Mrs. Lennox clutching her witch hat from Halloween. Neighbor testimonies sealed the deal. The Johnsons, voice shaking, showed footage of Karen's rose vandalism, fined as dead plants. Emily, the ex-treasurer, presented bank records, $25,000 in unapproved stipends to Karen's LLC, $20,000 for her illegal shed, and $10,000 for cameras without a vote. Mrs. Lennox, frail but fierce, held up her 27 birdbath citations, her voice cracking. "I paid until I couldn't, just to keep peace." Timmy, barely 15, read a letter from absent neighbors, signed by 40 households, demanding Karen's removal. The room roared approval, and Karen's pearls seemed to choke her. The final blow was Jason's closer. He played audio of Karen at a board meeting, her alone, voting herself a raise via forged proxies. Then he showed the Gungate restraining order, violated by Randy's presence at our house and the cameras. "I fought for freedom overseas," Jason said, eyes on the panel. "I didn't come home to let a clipboard tell my mom what birds she can feed." The room fell silent, even Ms. Carter pausing. Frank squeezed my hand, his Navy pride radiating. I fought tears, my fear melting into awe. The panel recessed for an hour, the auditorium humming with whispers. When they returned, Ms. Carter didn't mince words. Karen Mitchell, you are removed as HOA president, effective immediately. Your actions, embezzlement, abuse of power, illegal surveillance, are referred to the district attorney. The crowd erupted, clapping, some yelling, "Free the bird feeders." Karen stood, face pale, and shouted, "You can't do this. I built this community." Tom Hart yelled back, "You built it on lies." Her clipboard slipped, hitting the floor. Nobody picked it up. Outside, real county deputies waited. Randy, who'd been lurking, was cuffed for violating the restraining order, his badge confiscated. Timmy live-streamed it on X. Fake cop down. Hashtag Red Maple Rises. It hit 5,000 views, with memes of Randy's mirrored sunglasses on a crying emoji. Karen stormed out, pearls clacking, chased by shouts and Muffin's confused yaps. Red Maple was free, but Karen wasn't done. She'd try one last desperate move. In May 2024, Karen filed a $300,000 defamation lawsuit against the neighborhood, claiming Jason's smear campaign caused emotional distress and loss of leadership opportunities. The case landed in county court, a sterile room with a judge who looked done with life. Karen's lawyer, a greasy type named Vince, argued Jason edited videos to vilify her. Jason's pro bono attorney, a civil rights bulldog named Clara, dismantled them. She presented the dossier, unedited footage, and 30 neighbor affidavits. The Johnsons testified about their roses, Emily about the stipends, and Mrs. Lennox, wheeled in, called Karen a thief in yoga pants. The crowd chuckled, the judge didn't. Clara played the gun gate clip, Randy's gun steady, Jason's calm unshaken. "This isn't defamation," she said. "It's evidence." The judge, peering over glasses, dismissed the case with prejudice, no refiling. He ordered Karen to pay $20,000 in HOA legal fees, every cent she'd stolen in stipends, plus interest. Her bank account was frozen, her condo lease canceled, her LinkedIn page vanished overnight. X erupted. Karen's court catastrophe. Hashtag Red Maple Rises, with 4,000 likes and a meme of Karen's pearls as handcuffs. Red Maple celebrated with a block party on June 1, 2024, the first in years. The Hart's yard overflowed. A country band played Merle Haggard, BBQ's smoked ribs, and kids raced with Gizmo, who wore a red maple hero bandana. Mrs. Lennox sat on a throne of hay bales, dubbed Queen of the Bird Bath, sipping lemonade. The Johnsons brought new roses, planted in defiance. Emily, now interim treasurer, announced new bylaws. No fines for bird feeders, gnomes, or flags, and trucks like Jason's F-250 were legal. Frank raised a second flagpole, flying a Navy banner beside the stars and stripes. I stood, tears falling, as neighbors hugged, laughed, and danced. Jason, ever quiet, grilled burgers, a rare smile breaking through. Karen fled to a no-HOA trailer park 50 miles away, her name Poison. Ex-posts followed her. Visor vigilante spotted at Shady Pines. Hashtag Karen exiled, with 2,000 likes. Her shed was demolished, her cameras scrapped, her rulebook burned at the bonfire. Symbolically, of course. Red Maple bloomed, not just with lawns, but with bonds. Gizmo returned to Gus, but his pin stayed, a monument to rebellion. Jason's bird feeder hung proud, blue jays flocking, a quiet reminder of the war we'd won. And there you have it, folks, the epic saga of how a Special Forces vet, a spit-happy llama, and a neighborhood of fed-up retirees took down a fake HOA cop and a Karen who thought her clipboard was a crown. From Randy's gun-pointing blunder to Gizmo's azalea-munching uprising, from X-memes that lit up the internet to a hearing that sent Karen packing, Red Maple Grove proved that community beats control every time. This is HOA Karen Files, where we expose clipboard tyrants and cheer for the underdogs. Neighbors like you, fighting for your bird feeders, your flags, your freedom. Red Maple's story didn't end with Karen's exile. A new board, led by Emily and the Harts, rewrote the bylaws to keep things simple. No fines for non-neutral hoses, no bans on gnomes, and definitely no cameras spying on your lawn. They started an annual block party, dubbed Gizmo Day, with BBQs, bands, and a petting zoo cameo from our favorite llama. Jason declined a board seat, saying he'd rather grill than govern. But his Hummingbird General nickname stuck, etched on a plaque by our bird feeder. Mrs. Lennox, now 85, got a new bird bath, funded by neighbors, with a sign, "Algae welcome." The Johnsons' roses bloomed brighter, the Hearts' flags flew higher, and Frank's Navy banner snapped in the breeze, a quiet salute to the fight we'd won. Karen? She's a ghost now, haunting a trailer park where ex-posts still mock her. Red Maple rises. Visor vigilante vanquished, with 1,000 likes and a meme of Muffin as a retired dictator's dog. Her legacy's a warning. Power loves a vacuum, but community fills it faster. Red Maple learned that the hard way, and we're stronger for it. I think about it sometimes, sitting on my porch, watching blue jays at Jason's feeder. Peace feels louder when you've fought for it, when you've faced a gun, a llama, and a 120-page dossier to keep it. What's your HOA nightmare? Drop it in the comments. We read every single one, and yours could star in our next HOA Karen Files video. Like this? Check out our X page for Gungate, memes, or Timmy's Llama Liberation thread. It's still growing. Here's a taste of what's coming. Grandpa's Barbecue Torches fake HOA cop. Karen runs. Hits next week, with more drama, more rebels, and maybe another animal sidekick. Smash that like button, share this with your neighbors, and subscribe to keep the cul-de-sac free from clipboard queens. Oh, and one last X-gem from a fan. My HOA banned my dog's bark. Help. Sound familiar? Comment below, and let's build a community that knows the difference between rules and egos. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the strongest weapon is a bird feeder, a llama, and a neighborhood that says, enough.